Have you ever felt that quiet, gnawing sense that you are not living up to your potential? That even though your days are full of work, obligations, distractions, deep down you know you could be more if only you could find a way past your own habits, fears, or excuses? If so, you are not alone. Confucius, the Chinese philosopher whose words have echoed across millennia, spoke not to perfect saints, but to ordinary people like you and me, who wrestle with procrastination, self-doubt, and the haunting feeling of wasted time. He once said, "It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop." That one sentence, on the surface, sounds simple, but underneath it is a radical reimagining of what self-improvement really means. Let's begin with an uncomfortable truth. Many of us don't grow because we believe growth has to be grand. We think self-improvement must be a dramatic transformation. Wake up at 5 a.m., run 10 miles, meditate for an hour, read 3 books a week. And because we imagine such overwhelming change, we never begin. Confucius understood this paralysis. He lived in a time of political chaos, war, and moral decay. People were desperate for guidance, yet constantly overwhelmed by the weight of their circumstances. His answer wasn't a revolution of the world outside, but of the world inside. Change, he insisted, begins not in grand gestures but in daily discipline. A single choice, a single act, a single step. But here's the twist. Confucius didn't simply preach progress. He demanded honesty. He urged his students to face themselves with brutal clarity. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves. Pause on that. He didn't say to condemn others, or to envy them, or to complain. He said, use them as a mirror. If someone's arrogance disgusts you, ask, where am I arrogant? If someone's laziness frustrates you, ask, where am I lazy? This is a terrifying practice because it removes the comforting illusion that our problems belong to the world out there. Instead, it confronts us with the uncomfortable reality that the hardest battles are fought in silence, behind our own eyes. Confucius's teachings often centered on rituals, not in the sense of rigid religious ceremony, but in the sense of daily patterns that shape who we are. Think of it like this. Every morning, you repeat tiny rituals without realizing it. Checking your phone before you've even left the bed. Pouring your coffee in silence. Rushing through emails. These rituals form the architecture of your life. The question is, are they rituals of improvement or rituals of decline? Modern psychology echoes this. Habits, neuroscientists say, carve grooves into our brains. Repeated often enough, they become the path of least resistance. Confucius anticipated this truth thousands of years ago. Discipline is destiny. By choosing even one better ritual, journaling for 5 minutes, speaking kindly to someone, pausing before reacting, you are literally reshaping your character. Not in a day, not in a week, but over years, slowly, invisibly. Until one day, you look back and realize you are no longer who you once were. Now, here is a paradox. You may think that self-improvement means catching up to others, becoming richer, stronger, more successful. But Confucius warned against this trap. He believed the real measure of progress is not in comparison with others, but with your past self. Ask yourself, who were you yesterday? Who are you today? Is there even the faintest difference? If the answer is yes, then you are already winning. If the answer is no, then that is not a cause for despair, but a wake-up call. Because stagnation, more than failure, is the true enemy. Imagine standing in a river. The water flows whether you move or not. If you stay still, you don't remain in place. You are carried backward. Life is like this. If you aren't moving forward, you're drifting into decline. Another lesson Confucius left us with is humility. Real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. This is not a call to shame, but to freedom. To admit you don't know, that you are flawed, is the beginning of growth. Think about it. How many of your fears, your hesitations, come from the belief that you must already have it figured out? That you must already be strong, already wise, already successful? But what if the very act of admitting weakness is the first step to strength? Confucius believed that the noble person is not one who is perfect, but one who is teachable. The tragedy is not ignorance. The tragedy is arrogance, the refusal to learn, the refusal to start small. There's an old story told about Confucius. Once, while traveling with his students, he came across a man who had fallen into the mud. His companions laughed at the man's clumsiness, but Confucius helped him up and said, "The greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." That story resonates because it exposes one of our deepest fears, that failure defines us. But Confucius flips this fear upside down. Failure isn't the opposite of improvement. It is the path. Every fall is a lesson. Every setback is data. Every embarrassment is a teacher. The only true disgrace is to fall and refuse to rise. You might be thinking, this is ancient wisdom. But what does it have to do with us, scrolling through endless videos, caught between ambition and distraction? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Our age is drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. We know what to do. Eat healthy. Exercise. Read, create. Love. Yet we don't do it, not because we lack knowledge, but because we lack consistency. Confucius whispers across 2,500 years, knowledge without practice is empty. Self-improvement is not about chasing more information, more hacks, more secrets. It is about translating one thing, just one, into action today. Confucius also believed in the ripple effect of character. He argued that if a leader cultivated virtue, it would spread to the people. If a father cultivated integrity, it would spread to the family. In other words, your self-improvement is not selfish. When you grow, you give permission for others to grow. When you speak with kindness instead of cruelty, it shifts the atmosphere around you. When you hold yourself to higher standards, silently, others feel it. Think of the people in your life who inspire you. It isn't their lectures or advice that moved you most. It's how they live. That is the hidden power of daily self-improvement. You don't just change yourself, you change your world. So here's the question I leave you with. What is the smallest, most honest step you can take today? Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Today. Confucius would remind us, you don't need to climb the entire mountain, you just need to take the next step. But you must take it. Because the tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that we waste it waiting to begin. Self-improvement, in the spirit of Confucius, is not about perfection. It is not about measuring yourself against the impossible standards of others. It is about a quiet, steady courage. The courage to be brutally honest with yourself, to create rituals that shape you, to rise each time you fall, and to take the smallest possible step forward, no matter how slow. And maybe, just maybe, one day, without even realizing it, you will become the person you were always meant to be. Because in the end, the path of self-improvement is not about who you are today. It is about who you are becoming, and that journey never ends.